All right, everybody, today we are taking a look at Catenaccio, in particular, Helenio Herrera's Inter Milan, Grande Inter, 3 Serie A titles, 2 European Cups, back-to-back European Cup during the 1960s, playing with a libero, notoriously classed maybe as a defensive tactic. However, Herrera always maintained his style, his tactic was kind of lost in translation a lot of the time, and people used it incorrectly. He had a few attacking principles. We've put it into FM, notoriously not great for defensive tactics. However, it is an absolute banger for you today. So make sure you smash a like on today's video. If you do want the direct download tactic, it's available via my Patreon. Links down in the description for that if you want to support me and the channel. If not, don't worry, get FM loaded up and you can copy this tactic step by step. We'll talk you through it. We'll show you some clips, the tactic, player instructions, team instructions, and we'll also show you how my Inter Milan has made a fantastic start to the Serie A season, beating PSG, Atalanta, beating Cremonese 5-0 at the first game of the season with 25% possession. All right, guys, let's get into today's video, Cattenaccio. Okay, so thinking about Cattenaccio, we obviously think about the libero, 5 at the back. However, Herrera was quite clear on his attacking principles, so check this little quote out. In attack, all the players know what I wanted. Vertical football at great speed with no more than 3 passes to get to the opponent's box. If you lose the ball playing vertically, it's not a problem, but if you lose it playing laterally, you will pay with a goal. And I'm finding that kind of the thing of FM23 at the moment, losing possession, trying to be patient, trying to keep the ball, a bit of deserby ball, a bit of patience out from the back, and you get to the point where you pass, and then that one terrible pass in the match engine screws you up. And this tactic kind of defeats all that because we go long, we go direct, and we play quickly, and it does work in FM23. All right, let's go and see how my Inter Milan has started the season. Okay, so that is the start of the season, undefeated. We've not kept a clean sheet in the last 4. However, we have come up against strong opposition. The craziest one was this one, Cremonese 5-0, which you'd maybe expect us to beat. Cremonese, not obviously a good side. I think at the moment they're rooted to the bottom of Serie A with not even a win to their name in real life. So they're always going to struggle. They did get a man sent off as well. However, the possession, we did actually have 29% possession, but we racked up 25 shots. Completely blocked them out as well. They are having 71% of the ball, but only creating 6 shots, 2 shots on target with an XG of 0.26. And in particular, the role of Lautaro Martinez. That was absolutely key, and I'm going to show you the main role one of the main roles in the tactic that we're going to talk about is the role of the shadow striker, and that is what Lautaro has been playing for us so far. So those are the results. We've just beaten PSG, another deserved win. Dzeko coming in for the injured Lukaku, 41% possession. And one of the best ones as well, Atalanta, beating them 3-1 away from home, 21 shots on goal. Lukaku with a brace, Correa playing as sort of like a trequartista that we're going to talk about a little bit. And also, as you can see, 30% possession, only 324 passes. All right, and as you can see, there you go. I don't simulate. I've played through those games. I've not actually made any subs unless there's been injuries. The only change that I did make is that I went from a defensive to attacking for the last 20 minutes of the Bologna game to try and force an equaliser, and an equaliser we did force. All right, let's go and check out the tactic. Okay, so we'll go through the team step by step. In goal, sweeper, keeper on defend. Across to the right centre half, we've got a wide centre back on defend. Now we do have, the guy was called Burnich. He was a right back converted into a right centre half by Herrera Inter Milan. So he did often drift into these areas. They also played a Brazilian called Jare in front, or Jar in front, and he was more of an out-and-out winger. So this in particular, would come across and back up the right midfielder. So that's why we've got wide centre back on defend. No player instructions for that one. I have done, sorry. I put take fewer risks. With that as well, make sure it's on defend. We don't want him overlapping or underlapping. He's just there to try and come round and cover around when we're in possession. The middle of the 3 is obviously the libero on support. Very important. Player instruction as well. Dribble less and hold position. We don't want him dribbling. It said it wasn't a thing. It was called Pichichi, who was the libero Inter Milan. Once again, Herrera didn't want him carrying the ball forward. Mainly, he kind of dropped off a little bit. He did try and play it. He did show at times that he could play a little bit. Some of the videos and reading that I've done over the last week or so, he was more than capable of it, but at times Herrera was quite restricted in what he allowed his libero to do. So with the player instruction, hold position and dribble less. Left hand side, just central defender on defend, Bastoni. Now, When you're coming up against a front two, my suggestion and my recommendation would be to mark a player. So what he had was the two wider centre halves would man mark and get tight to the two strikers, quite physical obviously, and then that left the libero to be completely free. Doesn't happen as much now in the modern game and in FM. Strike forces are sort of like a lone striker with maybe a number 10 and stuff. So you could maybe do that, maybe one of them marking a shadow striker. I'd just be careful with a centre half marking a number 10, so you might just drift into areas that you don't want him to go. Moving over to the left wing back, they had a player called Fascetti. He was a striker that Herrera converted into a left wing back, left sort of like attacking defender, basically. He was tall and gangly. At one point, I think he scored sort of like a dozen goals in Serie A. So we've gone with a complete wing back on attack. He will obviously start in deeper areas, but the idea is that he gets up as far as possible. On the right-hand side, we've got Jar, Brazilian winger, who basically had all of the right-hand side to deal with. So we've put him as just a defensive winger on support. No player instructions for that as well. And then the number 5, Gigliardini at the moment. We have had Brozovic in there until he got injured. We've got this player, a defensive midfielder on defend. This was often a player called Bedin. We're just sitting there, break up things, quite aggressive in the tackle. I imagine you could, if you really wanted to step it up, you could put, tackle harder and stuff like that on. And then into the midfield, probably the most creative player on the pitch. It was a player that Herrera brought from Barcelona, Luis Suarez. And we are playing him as a roaming playmaker. He could go about the pitch, switching balls, often passes into the strikers, through balls into the strikers, and also switching balls out wide, etc. Now, Martinez, we've got as a shadow striker. Not his most comfortable position, but I wanted to use, by the way, Inter Milan the squad kind of suits this tactic really, really well. I wanted Mazzola, who was the second striker in the Inter side, during the 1960s, was their standout player, best player, goal scorer, etc. But he played as a second striker, so I really wanted to have a striker who had that clinical edge to it, and obviously Martinez has that and has made a decent start in that shadow striker role. I can imagine once he gets used to the role a little bit, we would have probably seen a little bit more regular in terms of goals, etc. On the left-hand side of the attacking two is a player called Corso. Now, he's a little bit of a winger, an inverted winger, a trequartista. He basically didn't do hardly, in a very rigid and structured system, he didn't do much defending at all. I've tried at first to play him out on the wide left. I do want an inverted winger. He kind of did it all. He dribbled, he scored goals, left foot, right foot, but was a little bit of a free spirit. So what I have done is, and by the way, this can be changed. I think if you're playing with, if you've got a very decent inverted winger, you could by all means shove him out there. I've just gone with a trequartista to be the prime, sort of like creator, and he'll float about, get into really good positions. When we defend as well, we defend in this sort of like 5-2-3 at times, and he's often in this this sort of like left half space, defending, sort of like closing down fullbacks and in between sort of like the fullback and the centre half. I've got the player instruction as well in possession, stay wider, just so he drifts out on that left-hand side. It's the only one that I couldn't really get matched. Corso was a little bit of a free spirit, so I thought trequartista kind of suits that role a little bit. And then up front, advance forward, no player instruction, so we're quite lucky at Inter. I think if you're going to play this, number one, obviously the idea is that you soak possession and we hit teams very quickly on the counter-attack. And we have quality of Barella, in particular, Martinez and the trequartista playing Correa there. Obviously, we're playing Catenaccio there at the moment. But the idea is that we have soak up the ball, spacing behind for us to attack. And obviously, Lukaku's done that very well. We've had crosses into the box as well. Dzeko scored a hat-trick against PSG. So having someone up there who's quick and strong, no matter what level you're at, I think you can always find those players. Big physical striker. I did start on pressing forward, but I just want him to lead the lines. Unfortunately for the strikers, Inter, they had to feed on scraps a lot of the time. It was a lot of long ball. They would chase, they would hassle, they would run. So maybe even if your player isn't doing it, maybe a tackle harder instruction as well would suit. Okay, so that is the team. I said there's no player instructions. No, there was no player instructions on Martinez and no player instructions on Lukaku, the advanced forward. Okay, moving over to the mentality. Defensive mentality, okay, very cautious, which you would expect from a Cattenaccio. We've gone fairly narrow to stay nice and tight and rigid. More direct passing, higher tempo. When we get the ball back, we want to attack quickly. Remember that little quote from Helenio Herrera about vertical quickly? Obviously, higher tempo, more direct passing will do that. And that's why it's important to have that number 9 up there who is decent in the air. I would also maybe recommend a shadow striker. Martinez, he's okay at it because he's obviously used. He's got the profile to be a striker and obviously playing up front. But maybe having a shadow striker as well who is quite physical. You know, even a Dele Alli, his physical profile will work actually really well. So there you go. More direct passing, higher tempo, time wasting frequently, obviously. They were very good at ruining games when we were into Milan, especially in the European competitions. More disciplined as well, play for set pieces. You know, I think if you're building a side around that, obviously you're going to have 3 big centre halves. You're going to have obviously maybe a striker that's maybe of a decent size, obviously, and then maybe even that shadow striker. So playing for set pieces makes sense. In transition, counter-attack, obviously. Counter-attack, absolutely vital when you've got a low block. Slow the pace down from the goalie and regroup. So no gegenpress. Wow, who would have thought it? And then with the goalkeeper distributing, I've left it blank. Sometimes he'd go into libero. Sometimes he'll go straight over the top. I've left that completely blank just for the goalkeeper to make his own mind up. And then out of possession, we've got a low block, low line of engagement, get stuck in and trigger press less often. So we stay really compact in there. However, when it does go in there, we want to see that snap. And what I am finding with the match engine in particular, because teams are there's a little bit of chaos and there's a lot of turnovers in Football Manager, what I'm finding is teams get into our attacking third, we win it, and then we break very quickly. And because of how defenders are in FM23 as well, with balls over the top, you know, with Lukaku chasing on, defenders seem to be hesitating, allowing Lukaku to get in and score or even get the opportunity to score. Okay, that is the Tactics Said. Links down in the description to the Patreon. I've gone through everything for you there. There's no real opposition instructions. All I would say is if they're playing with the front two, man mark the striker. If it's a lone striker, once again, man mark the lone striker. Don't use a libero as the man marker. Use one of the outside centre halves. Okay, let's go and see some highlights. Okay, so this is the Cremonese win at the start of the season. As you can see, direct passes. I think the starting position of the defensive winger as well kind of suits Dumfries. Gets a little bit higher up the pitch, but we're moving the ball quickly. One vertical pass. Carries with it, and then it's a cross into the box. Lukaku getting in. Goalkeeper nowhere to be seen. However, just that quick pass into the final third. Then we've got the defender striding forward. Not something I was too keen on. Quick vertical pass. Lautaro's in. Shadow striker in that sort of like right half space. Set pieces are obviously a thing as well. Obviously, we're going to dominate. We get a second ball this time. Lautaro, edge of the area, absolutely smashed. I think it's important for the shadow striker. Remember, the key for Grande Inter was Mazzola as that shadow striker, that second striker. So make sure, rather than trying to have a creative player playing as a shadow striker, make sure he's of a striker. You know, Martinez is a striker, but can do the shadow striker quite well. So try and think when you're trying to find a player for that profile of a shadow striker, try and think more striker rather than number 10. Okay, then we get the ball back. There's Brozovic playing as the DM. Dumfries, a deeper position. Martinez in the half space again. Absolutely clinical. So winning the ball back, and then pass. And then we're through on goal. This time Lukaku hunting down. And Lautaro breaking through again. And I do think if you can just draw the defence out a little bit and then punish them, nick the ball. Remember, there's an amount of turnovers and mistakes in FM23. You can punish them if you've got the quality up front in those two attacking areas. Okay, so that was the 5-0. 2.68 XG, 29% possession. Heat map compared to their 71%. Absolutely clinical. The Atalanta, we'll look at the Atalanta. We played really well in this as well. A really good start. We had Joaquim Correa as a trequartista. He started out wide and we kind of shifted his role midway through this game and we brought him inside. So he's kind of started in that wider position. But here we go again. So we're in possession of the ball. Let's just bring it back a little bit. Looks like a free kick. So into Dumfries. Dumfries plays, then it's a ball over the top. Once again, creating a little bit of chaos. That's terrible FM23 defending, but it does punish it really, really well. Lautaro getting into a really good space, dragging out the defenders. There's Ruggieri moving up to try and close him down. He's now got options around him. Brozovic, the DM. He's got Correa as well. And obviously then look at the space. Atalanta, they were playing a 3-4-2-1, but obviously a high line, looking to press, and it leaves that space in behind. Into Brozo, who's got a tremendous ability to clip the ball over the top, and we punished them. Lukaku And then the third goal, it's just a ball over the top. But because they're playing with a high line, we've got Lukaku. We've got Lukaku, sorry. We've got the ball playing defender, spacing behind. Just put a ball in. Defender hesitates. Lukaku gets in. And a lovely little chip over the goalkeeper into the back of the net. That was 3-1. And then we've played a couple of games. Bologna was disappointed. As I said, I did tweak it. 20 minutes to go. We made a change. I think Edin Dzeko came in for Lukaku, who was having a little bit of a stinker. Put in Dzeko. Attacking didn't change anything else. We just tried to be a little bit more risky with our passes, still with the low block, and it worked really well. Ended up forcing. We had lots of shots on goal. I think we had like 20-odd plus shots on goal again. And then in the end, we were getting a deserved equaliser. And then the last one, an Edin Dzeko masterclass. Lukaku was out injured. They actually scored their goal late on as well. Obviously, you expect PSG to have a higher line. Here we go. Barella getting involved. Gagliardini getting involved. Just a long ball over the top. So simple. Dzeko still with a little bit of pace to get there, leading the line. But then high lines were killing him. And then this is the role of the trequartista. Good, quick, vertical pass straight away. We've won the ball. We're attacking quickly. We're trying to still get bodies in there. No, this is a defensive mentality. And look at the number of bodies that are trying to get in and around the penalty area there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All busting to get forward. Lovely pick out by Hakan. Trequartista obviously drifts into the wide areas. And then Edin Dzeko waiting in there. Gets it the second attempt. Look, finishing off really nicely. But good movement from that Trequartista going into that wide area. And then his hat-trick goal. Similar again. Hakan moving out into that left half space. Lovely cross from Gosens. Look, and there is the number 9. So you do need that number 9. A real classic number 9 to lead the line for you, I think, in this tactic. There you go. Plug it in. I think as a second tactic, it will work quite well. If you've got a team that's good in transition, instead you've got that number 9, you've got that number 9 who can really lead the line. You've maybe got 2 strikers, someone who can maybe do that shadow striker role. Have you got that creative trequartista? Anyone will probably work in that number 10 as a trequartista. Any sort of creative player. You know, it suits Inter Milan really well. They're really good in the wide areas with Gosens and Dumfries as that defensive winger. By all means, go plug it in. I think I'm going to bring this over to my stream save. We were talking about this on stream last night, and I really struggle to find something that I'm really enjoying and try not to just go with the bog standard 4-3-3 and 4-2-3-1 all the time. So it's definitely something we may implement. We may change the mentality and just have it as a basic tactic and look at being a little bit more attacking in terms of risk. Keep the low line of engagement, though. Keep the low block in and try and hit teams on the break. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Please smash a like on today's video. And by all means, please put down in the comments. I am following comments. I am using people's ideas and suggestions for videos to do tactically in FM23 over the next few weeks and months. So by all means, put your ideas, suggestions down in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. See you later.